It's real life, a complicated world where ordinary people do the saving. Where heroes are made, not with costumes or magical abilities, but by being human. Stepping up to help time after time after time, with grit and compassion, without any superpowers at all, because they're not the heroes of some fictional world. They're the real-life heroes of ours. And this World Humanitarian Day, we thank each and every one. If this were a story, it would start with a hero, someone with a great destiny, who saves the day. This isn't a story. No quests, no monsters, no surprise. Twist at the end. It's real life, a complicated world where ordinary people do the saving. Where heroes are made, not with costumes or magical abilities, but by being human. Stepping up to help time after time after time, with grit and compassion, without any superpowers at all, because they're not the heroes of some fictional world. They're the real-life heroes of ours. And this World Humanitarian Day, we thank each and every one of them. If this were a story, it would start with a hero, someone with a great destiny, who saves the day. This isn't a story. There are no quests, no monsters, no surprise twist at the end. It's real life, a complicated world where ordinary people do the saving. Where heroes are made, not with costumes or magical abilities, but by being human. Stepping up to help time after time after time, with grit and compassion, without any superpowers at all, because they're not it's real life of some fictional world, a complicated. They're the real life where ordinary people do the saving. And this World Humanitarian Day, where heroes are made, and not with costumes or magical abilities, but by being human. Stepping up to help time after time after time. If this were with grit and compassion, without any superpowers at all, someone with because they're not the heroes of some fictional world. This isn't a story. They're the real-life heroes of ours. Quests, and this World Humanitarian Day, no surprise, we thank each and every one. It's real life, a complicated world where ordinary people do the saving. Where heroes are made, not with costumes or magical abilities. If this were a story, it would start with stepping up to help time after time, someone with a great destiny, with who saves the day, compassion.
Thank you, everyone, for making it today to the World Humanitarian Day 2020. We are very privileged to have all of you here. And I must say, we thank you that you are actually the real heroes of today. This webinar is hosted by the University Tun Hussein on Malaysia, UTM, UTHM, and then Impact Youth Sustainability. We are very happy to be here and also being joined by esteemed leaders across the group and also with all humanitarian sectors. We are so much happy to be here and a respected audience to Dr. Wissam, who has been a phenomenal support behind the organization of this webinar series. And also to acknowledge everyone who has made time here to be present. We thank you very much for being here with us, and we look forward to a very fruitful and inspiring conversation, all protocols observed. We thank you very much. Now, without much ado, we will go straight to the order of the day. All right, today marks the World Humanitarian Day, celebrating real-life heroes. On August 19th today, we have gathered here in addressing global challenges with global solutions. So we are happy each and every one of you have joined us in celebrating our real-life heroes as they overcome unprecedented hurdles to assist in humanitarian and global crisis. This event is proudly supported and also in recognition of the United Nations Major Group for Children and Youth, the Climate Relative Project under the auspices of the former US Vice President Al Gore, the Sustainable Development Goals, and the UN 75, that is the 2020 and beyond, in a time or period where the United Nations is celebrating its 75th anniversary, and also acknowledgement to the Global Socio-Economic and Financial Evolution Network, who are ably represented here by Professor Awudobi. We also have the Decade of Action, all part of the SDG campaign. And this live stream is brought to you by Great Minds Empire Africa. Now, the program lineup is going to take a form of introduction, and then we'll have our opening speech. We'll also have remarks from Dr. Wissam, and then we'll go into our speaker session, where after each speaker, we'll have slots for Q&As, after which we shall do the discussion segments and then introduce the youth around the world to also share in the commemoration of the World Humanitarian Day, after which we have our closing remarks. Now, let me give you a bit of background before we start the whole proceedings. This year, World Humanitarian Day, August 19th, comes as the world continues to fight the COVID-19 pandemic, where humanitarian workers are overcoming unprecedented hurdles in this global crisis. Now, the real-life heroes focuses on what drives humanitarians to continue to save and protect lives despite conflict, insecurity, lack of access, and risks linked to COVID-19, and also as the first respondents to crisis as well as humanitarian issues. Now, the rationale to today's webinar is to highlight success heroes during this global crisis. It is also to pay tribute to aid workers who risk their lives in humanitarian service. Today also, we are going to rally support for people affected by the global crisis around the world. And to conclusively, to spur a collective action and recognition on the critical importance of the humanitarian sector, the organizations, workers, and even us as individuals through a global action with global solutions. Now, this is brought to you by Hyde Consult, which is a youth-led social enterprise with expertise in management and consultancy. The other partners will also introduce and talk a little bit about themselves. Now, Hyde Consult has been able to organize this series of events, and we are happy in hosting today's now. Now, to come on board with our opening remarks for today's World Humanitarian Day, we have the Associate Professor, Dr. Radin Maya Safira Radin Muhammad. She is the head of the Micropollutant Research Center, Faculty of Civil Engineering and Built Environment for the University Tun Hussein on Malaysia, UTHM. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. John, isn't it?
Yes, please.
Thank you so much for inviting me and also the rest of the committees. So, Assalamualaikum and a very good day to everyone. A warm welcome to everyone. So yes, Mr. John mentioned, my name is Radin Maya. You can call me Maya from UTHM, University Tun Hussein Malaysia. So this is we are very indeed and very great pleasure and honor to welcome you to this World Humanitarian Day amid a global hard time of the pandemic COVID-19. So I believe that this is a very special event which aim to build the capacity of humanitarian who are so passionate about their role to assist humanitarian crisis, especially now we need to fight the pandemic COVID-19. Sustainable lifestyle which balance the economy, development needs with the environmental protection, taking into account the social justice dimension, especially in humanitarian. Okay, thank you so much to Hyatt Consult as a youth-led organization. We are very committed and give the platform of activities and events geared towards highlighting the importance and sacrifice made by our heroes during this period of global crisis. So we are in UTHM Malaysia is so pleased to be with you and collaborated with this program. We are so proud to have our representative, Dr. Wisham Madhun. He is the president of Youth Impact Sustainability Organization to speak on the theme of sustainability, addressing global challenges with global solutions. Yeah. So we need to act now to stem the impact of COVID-19 and also the other crisis, global crisis which is already vulnerable humanitarian context. And we need to maintain support for existing humanitarian response plans on which people depend on. If there is lack of support and fund, the consequences could be catastrophic. So the further spread of, for example, some diseases, cholera, measles, meningitis, greater levels of the child's malnutrition and blow to the ability of these countries to combat the virus. So let us do everything we can to prevent this global crisis from weakening havoc in places with the limited and resilient. At the same time, let's do our utmost to plan for and respond to early recovery in the countries around the world that will make it more so that we can achieve a new sustainable and economy that leaves no one behind. I hope that this organization and NGO could work together in addressing the socio-economic implications of this pandemic, and of course we require an adequate funding mechanism. But now we need to support with humanitarian replacement plan, which is a necessity for global health security and also to maintain the sustainability. So for last but not least, I wish you successful program, which will have a very positive global impact for the betterment of the humanity. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Madam, for
Yes.
the insightful opening. We are happy to hear also from you on this. Thank you so much for the opening remarks. We look forward to engaging with you so that the youth could also learn all the full scope of the humanitarian services, as it is not just pertaining to university or to the job. Each and every one of us are humanitarian. Seeing your own brother or sister and saying hello is an act of kindness. And an act of kindness, love, peace is all what a humanitarian person embodies. Thank you very much, Associate Professor Dr. Radin Maya, Safira Radin Mohammed. She is the head of Micropollitant Research Center at the Faculty of Civil Engineering and Built Environment, UTHF. Thank you so much for your time.
You're most welcome. Thank you so much.
Okay, people, you heard that we will come in with Dr. Wissam, who will have his keynote speech representing the impact, sustainability, as well as UTHM. Dr. Wissam, you have the floor.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Mr. John, for the invitation, and thanks for inviting me and also organizing this wonderful event. This is when we talk about humanitarian actions in this kind of challenging time, and taking into consideration the sustainability aspects, that can be quite challenging, because when we talk about the sustainability in the business context, because we need to balance out the the business aspects, the economic development aspects with the environmental protection aspects, taking into consideration the social dimension. In the humanitarian aspects, that can be more challenging or less challenging. It depends on Mr. John?
Yes, please. You have the floor.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So when talking about the sustainability aspects in the humanitarian actions, I mentioned when we talk about the business and the economy development, because we are talking about a lot of sources of pollution and solid waste generation. That can be more challenging, because we are talking about the needs of the economic development, and same time we need to talk about the environmental protection, which most of the time those aspects are colliding, and we have some kind of conflict of interest when talking about the business and the environment. In the humanitarian actions, it can be less challenging, because we are not talking about producing a lot of environmental challenges, right? The challenge will be from a different perspective, which, as I mentioned, either can be less challenging or more challenging, because we are talking about vulnerable groups, right? And the production and the generation of waste, especially when we talk about the domestic waste, and if we want to be more specific, like talking about the in some areas, when we talk about the production of wastewater or production of waste, then we need to find out the best ways to treat this waste before we dispose it, so that we will not create a threat to the environment, and also we will not create a public health threat. And definitely the social dimension, it will be one of the crucial dimensions of the sustainability, talking about the humanitarian actions. And that will be kind of more on the values that we need to implement and to balance when talking about the sustainability actions. In this pandemic, definitely this sustainability aspects will take different dimensions, because we need to provide these vulnerable groups with their needs, and same time we have to protect them and try to minimize the risk when we provide those services and those assistance, so that we are keeping them out of the infection rates of the pandemic. But definitely, the sustainability aspects, the sustainability pillars need to be taken into consideration, so that we maintain balanced life, we meet the needs of those current generations, and try also to not to compromise with the needs of the future generations for those vulnerable groups. And again, it can be more challenging, because we are talking about like the vulnerable groups who are there, talking about their very basic needs, which need to be achieved. And same time, we need to consider the environmental aspects, again, to protect the environment, to reduce the health threats on the current generations and on the future generations. Again, that can be more complicated because of the lack of resources, right? And also, if we are talking about conflict zones, that can be more complicated because of the vulnerability and the lack of resources, and also the the vulnerability of the groups, the weakness of those people. But sustainability need to be practiced, need to be tackled, so that we can maintain this balance. One of the aspects, even if we only talk about, before we are implementing any project to serve those vulnerable groups, we need to take into consideration the environmental aspects. And one of the tools is to do environmental impact assessment, so that we investigate the impacts, the potential impacts of any project. Like even if we want to construct housing units, or we want to construct a road, or we want to construct a hospital or a school, we need to find out the potential impacts on the environment, and we need to propose mitigation measures so that we can reduce the impacts on the environment. Talking about the environment, it can be, it is the comprehensive elements of the environment, talking about the air, water, generation of waste, and all aspects. In some areas, like again, because we are talking about vulnerable groups, so we might face problems of the electricity or power generation. So that can lead us to the utilization of the renewable energy, right? So in this case, we will do that because of the need, right? We have no options, right? So in that way, our projects, our communities will be more sustainable, more resilient, and that will lead to a more resilient community, resilient cities. So we are talking about all these aspects of sustainability, talking about the energy, talking about waste, talking about protection of the water resources, and also the air resources. And in most of the cases, when we talk about the protection of the environmental elements, it is directly related to the public health. And so when we protect the environment, means we protect the health, right? And on the short term, both on the short term and long term, when we protect the health, we reduce the costs, right? Because when people sick, that will lead to losses, reduction of the productivity, right? So, we need a paradigm shift of the people, both talking about the, the communities or the decision makers. We have to understand that protection of the environment, it's not a economical burden. It can bring a lot of benefits, and it can also contribute to the economy as well. Maybe here I just want to mention a few numbers from a well-established report. One of the latest studies, economical studies, mentioned that the expected or the predicted loss because of the COVID-19, we are talking about a loss of 8% of the global GDP, right? While annually we are losing 15% of the global GDP because of poor health, right? So it is not, the impact of the pandemic on the global economy. In the worst case scenario, it will be 8%, while in the ordinary days with no COVID-19, we are losing 15% of the GDP. So it's almost double of the loss that we might face because of the COVID-19. And also the same report mentioned that if we improve the environmental health, that will lead to an increase in the productivity of the global economy by $12 trillion by 2040, right? And one more or two more figures, important global figures. Taking like two examples, one in India and one from India, one from China. The first from India, we are talking about a loss of 1 million people annually because of air pollution. That is a single source of pollution. So 1 million people dying and a loss of 150 billion USD to the economy. While in China, we are talking about a loss of 1.8 million people and a 900 billion USD annually because of air pollution. So the protection of the environment, taking the sustainability aspects in our projects, in our practices, that will lead to a lot of benefits, both on the economical aspects, environmental aspects, health aspects. So we protect the environment, protect the health, and protect the economy, but we need to think in a holistic approach, right? Because if we only think about the economic activities, yeah, there might be an impact on the economy activity individually because they have to spend on the environmental pollution protection, right? But on the holistic approach, on the national economy, we are protecting the national economy, the environmental sources or elements, and also we are protecting the health of people. And that, again, that will be very crucial when we talk about the humanitarian actions because of the vulnerability of the groups that we are dealing with and because of the funding potential that we are facing. Because when we talk about the whole sustainable development or the economic development process, we will have fund from the environment, from the economic sector. But when we talk about the humanitarian actions, we are mostly talking about funding from international donors, right? And that we'll have to think wisely on spending the funding, right? Because we don't want to fund some activities that might hurt the people later on, both from the environmental health aspects or from the the economy aspect of it. So I think this is the end of my remarks on the sustainability aspects of the humanitarian actions, and I will be ready later on if there is any question or any discussion on the topic to respond. Thank you so much again for this organization, and our pleasure to contribute in any future event, and also to have more collaboration with your organization and more organization in Ghana as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wissam, for your remarks on that. As you have rightly said, sustainability needs to be tackled in order to protect our environment, which is very crucial. And also, by protecting the environment, we protect our health. And by protecting our health, we're able to use our resources well and also for other sectors. Thank you so much for your remarks. As sustainability is actually key in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, and that is the global goals. Now, viewers, Dr. Wissam is a lecturer at the University Tun Hussein Malaysia. He is also the president of the Impact Youth Sustainability, which a few days ago, they organized the Ambassadors of Sustainability program, which was very well attended. I am also a product and happy to call myself an ambassador of sustainability. So Dr. Wissam, we want to appreciate you and thank you for those organizations and bringing up a platform for the youth to understand both in context and in practice what it actually means for sustainability. Now, a bit of profile for Dr. Wissam. He holds a BSc in Civil Engineering from Palestine. He has a Master's of Environmental Engineering, Environmental Impact Assessment, and he's a PhD of Environmental Engineering, Air Quality Monitoring and Modeling from University Sun Malaysia. Dr. Wissam has over 15 years of working experience in terms of teaching, training, research, and consultancy, where he's had assignments in Malaysia, Brunei, Indonesia, South Korea, US, and Canada. He was also a research fellow at the School of Engineering, USM. And Dr. Wissam also did his postdoctoral fellowship at the Malaysia, Japan International Institute of Technology. He has achieved a fellowship at the MIT UTM and also at the MJIIT. He was also an air pollution consultant for the project Building Healthy Cities in Indonesia, which was funded by the USA. Now, in terms of publication, he has 18 papers published at the international peer-reviewed journals and more than 32 papers, which have also been published in international conferences. So it is a privilege and honor to have Dr. Wissam, the President of Impact Youth Sustainability, for his opening remarks. Thank you very much. We believe as time goes on, and if you are still on, the audience will also ask questions pertaining to sustainability and then humanitarian sector, as well as how all these achieve the global goals. Thank you very much, Dr. Wissam.
Thank you so much.
All right, people, now to move on, which we've had our remarks, we shall have our first speaker. He is in the person of Professor Awudobe Samuel Ilakin Larry. Now, to give a bit of background to him, he is a fellow chartered humanitarian of the International Institute of Chartered Humanitarian. He is on the religious side, a provincial pastor of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Oyo Province in Nigeria. He is presently the Director of Audit, Special Investigation Unit, Office of the Auditor General for Local Government. He has also served as the Chairman of Audit Committee of EcoBank Nigeria, Lagos. He is also the Chairman of the Audit Committee of Cadbury Nigeria, Lagos. Now, to sing a little bit of praise on his academic achievement, which we will not be able to. He's a loaded man of academic proficiency. Now, he is a fellow of the Association of Chartered System Accountants of US, fellow Association of National Accountants in Nigeria, and also Associate of Chartered Institute of Taxation. In turn, he has authored 10 books and appointed a professor at the International College of Ministry, Ibadan, an affiliate of AMS Christian University, Florida, USA. He is also appointed Professor Honoris Causa in Leadership and Business Management at the Asian University International in Indonesia. Now, he is also representing today the member of Board of Governors of GSFEN, who we also have the global president also among us here. Now, he is a conference speaker, both local and international, and he has traveled wide. He's happily married to Pastor Mrs. Elizabeth Olanike Awudobe, and they are blessed with 4 kids. Now, let's welcome Dr. Awudobe, who is going to talk on what are the lessons from COVID-19 crisis that can help increase institutional support and partnership for humanitarian services. Prof, the audience awaits you. Thank you very much. All right, people, we think Prof, yes. Prof, please, you would have to unmute yourself, please. Thank you.
All right.
Yes, please.
All right. Can you see my screen? Are you hearing me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, can you see my screen?
No, please.
No, please. How about that? How about that?
No, please, Prof, nothing is showing yet.
The screen is yet to show.
All right, okay.
Okay, can you see my screen?
It is loading, yes, we can.
All right, it's loading. All right, can you see my screen now?
Yes, Prof, we can see you.
All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. John, I want to thank you for giving me this invitation to be one of the participants as well as speaker for this World Humanitarian Day webinar. I really appreciate you and the Higher Consult in conjunction with the UTHM in Malaysia. Today is World Humanitarian Day, and I will be talking on the topic, what are the lessons learned from COVID-19 crisis that can help increase institutional support and partnership for humanitarian services. Sorry, I'm coming. Oh my goodness. Let me take us a little bit down to the memory lane that it should be noted that virus outbreak is not a new thing in the world. like the Spanish influenza pandemic, which happened in 1918 to 1919, which caused 50 million deaths worldwide. And this has remained ominous warning to public health. So many questions about its origin, as well as unusual epidemiological features and the basis of its pathogenicity remain unanswered. So with this pandemic that occurred in 1918 to 1919, it appears there were no significant lessons learned in order to prepare for future occurrences as it affects the humanitarian services. Now we have COVID-19 pandemic, which is considered the most global health calamity of the century and the great challenge that humankind faced since the Second World War, which emerged in Wuhan, Hubei province in China, and was named by the World Health Organization as COVID-19. Some of other worst diseases in the world history is the Black Death, known as bubonic plague, the speckled monster, smallpox, or severe acute respiratory syndrome, SARS, avian influenza, Ebola, leprosy, polio, just to mention a few. And according to the report of WHO, as at 17th August 2020, the current outbreak of COVID-19 has affected close to 22 million people, and it has killed almost 800,000 people in more than 200 countries throughout the world. COVID-19 has taken its toll on every nation of the world, which has called for humanitarian services attention. The primary purpose of humanitarian services is to relieve suffering and foster self-reliance for families of all nationalities and religions, and also to provide opportunities for services. The secondary purpose of humanitarian services is to help bring various organizations and countries out of obscurity to do the needful. The activities of humanitarian services include, but not limited to, the following: emergency response following disasters. Whenever we have any disasters, they have to stand up to render assistance. And the major initiatives like clean water, wheelchairs, maternal and newborn care, then fission, food production, as well as community projects, which are modest projects targeted to local community. What can we learn from past epidemics to protect not only refugees, but also the wider population? We know, okay, maintaining essential health services is vital to reduce additional deaths from COVID-19 so that it won't continue to escalate. So we know from previous epidemics, including Ebola, H1N1, influenza, that indirect health effects exceed the deaths and morbidity caused by the disease. During the pandemic response, the diversion of resources, disruption to medical supply chains, health facility closures, and shortages of healthcare workers can overwhelm health system, particularly in humanitarian context. And that if you look at it critically, you discover that even some deaths occurred as a result of the effects of COVID-19, not a direct effect, indirect effect. For instance, people with chronic conditions like HIV, tuberculosis, and some cardiovascular disease, diabetics, hypertension, require continuity of care and at increased risk of death or complication if their treatment is interrupted. I have seen people who have died as a result of this interruption from their medical attention. So the humanitarian system is already poorly equipped to manage chronic disease needs. As the international community ramps up its response to COVID-19 and ensuring the continuity of essential health services and prevention programs that are necessary to save lives is very, very germane. And doing so requires immediate attention to the health needs and priorities of displaced populations and contingency planning to ensure service continuity. So possible approaches include alternative treatment delivery method, supply chain management, and the provision of extended medication supply for conditions including HIV, tuberculosis, and non-communicable disease, etc. As well, protecting health workers, ensuring that they feel safe to continue working, and including adequate provision of PPE, personal protective equipment, supportive supervision, and continuous pay, and not unrestricting their ability to work are also very essential. Then access to infection prevention and control measures, testing, treatment for displaced population is essential to ensure safety for all. So ensuring that displaced population, as well as the health workers who serve them, have access to infection prevention and control measures. Then testing and treatment is very, very important. As critical shortages of PPE, testing resources, and ventilators are being reported worldwide, advocating for the needs of displaced population and people working with them is also very, very essential, because these people that are working, they are human beings, they also need to be protected. So social distancing is important to reduce the rate of community transmission. And the community transmission is the most very, very dangerous one. So yet it's a luxury rarely available to displaced people, those that are living in camps, detention facilities, high density urban areas, or informal settlement. These sites are densely populated and often lack adequate water and sanitation, and features share latrines and some other facilities. Like where I'm talking to you now in Nigeria, in Ibadan, in Oyo State, if you go to markets, you will discover there are clusters of people. Even the social distancing that we are talking about, nobody is keeping it in this densely populated environment. So further humanitarian service provision include food distribution, and that this one typically also require people to assemble in crowds. And you will discover that people they are at a very high risk. So for severe cases, displaced population need access to hospitals, intensive care units, bed, and ventilators. So special attention must be paid to the subgroup most vulnerable to COVID-19, including individuals who are over 50 years and above, because these people that have cardiovascular disease and there's some other things, they are the most vulnerable. And it is very, very important. Let me quickly go further. Maintaining essential health services is vital to reduce additional death from COVID-19. Our experience with Ebola and SARS demonstrate that transparent trust and community partnership are key efforts for controlling COVID-19. Lessons learned from SARS show the importance of detection, risk communication with vulnerable groups, and strategy for containment and multinational collaboration. So effective communication and public trust are crucial yes, to the success of these public health measures as they require the cooperation of affected individuals and communities. So communication and trust are important for displaced population. Let me quickly go. Now, there's a role for, no, let me, because of our time. Some areas globally, the COVID-19 has affected. COVID-19 and economy. Well, loss of lives due to any pandemic causes definite, irretrievable damages in our society. But apart from this, COVID-19 has severely demobilized the economy. And in order to restrict further transmission of disease in the community, many of the affected countries have decided to undergo closure or lockdown. Major international flights and also all types of business transport have been deferred among different countries. Due to lockdown, domestic flights, railway service, except good trains, bus, truck, and other vehicle transport are suspended with special exemption to those associated with essential commodities. So in almost all the COVID-19 striking countries, entire educational, commercial, sport, and spiritual institutions are closed. Industry are suffering a lot, as many of these, excepting those related to essential services, are closed for a long time in many countries. So, and people are growing, businesses are growing. So economy is wobbling. If you look at the graph there, the figure there, you will see from China to India to Brazil, we'll see the impact of this COVID-19 as regards their GDP, which I may not have time. Then the partial or complete shutdown has also affected the transportation industry, the manufacturing, the hotels, restaurants, etc. You can see the different sectors, you can see their performance going into the negative. Now, COVID-19 and global environment. Well, the only advantage that we can say from this COVID-19 as it affects the environment is that pollution, air pollution, water pollution, climate change, ozone layer depletion, global warming, depletion of groundwater level, all these have reduced considerably because in global warming, it's as a result of the increasing concentration of greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, out of the desire to drive this nature as per their own whims and desire. Human beings started destroying the nature in numerous ways. But with COVID-19, I think our environment is a bit affected positively. And the various religious, cultural, social, scientific, sport, and political mass gathering effect like Hajj, Jerusalem pilgrimage, Olympics are cancelled. So various types of industry are not functioning. All types of travels are cancelled. Meanwhile, effort to restrict transmission by restricting the movement have had an outstanding environmental effects. Now, let me quickly, please go to, due to lesser demand for power in industry, use of fossil fuels or conventional energy sources have been lowered considerably, and our ecosystem have been greatly recovered. So now, the developed world somewhat neglected the developing countries in support system, so to say, to build and strengthen the healthcare delivery system. The developing countries' leaders neglected the healthcare system and the educational system in their countries. The bridging of the gap between the rich and the poor was not done, well, which made the poor to say COVID-19 is for wealthy people, unknowingly that the poor are the most vulnerable when there's communal outbreak. Now, what are we to do, as I'm about to round up, to adequately prepare for future occurrences? Number one, the developed world should not neglect the developing countries in terms of humanitarian services, because whenever there's any pandemic like this, it can as well have a devastating effect in the developed nations. The tourism and hospitality industry should also be engaged in humanitarian services as part of their corporate social responsibility, because they never thought this is going to affect them. Then the governments of developing countries should strengthen the education sectors by engaging private individuals in humanitarian services in our schools and colleges. Then the sports and entertainment industry should also be concerned about humanitarian services, not just what they will be gaining from the tickets, from the money they realize from this sport and entertainment. They need also to do something. The religious institution should also know that humanitarian services is a must for them, as enjoined by our Lord Jesus Christ in Luke chapter 10, verse 33 to 37. In conclusion, the rapid global spread of a novel coronavirus has taught us that all are all interconnected in terms of our health and well-being. These include population, including refugees and migrants, are often the first stigmatized and unjustly blamed for the spread of disease. Yet also among the vulnerable people during the pandemic, to which the virus itself and the measure enacted to control it. Substantial disruption to humanitarian operations have already been reported in the field, thus compromising access to health and other essential services, and the ability to respond to urgent community needs. And that must apply the lesson of past, we must apply the lessons of past pandemics in our response to COVID-19, including paying heed to the indirect health effect of this disease to reduce mortality, and ensuring that refugees and displaced population have access to testing, referral, and definitive treatment alongside all populations. We all need to start thinking outside the box. We are now into a new normal or a new world order where things will be done differently in order to achieve the desired result. We need to be proactive and prepare for future occurrences or outbreak. Insurance industry should be thinking of a new way to handle an act of God like this COVID-19 as regards indemnity. Let there be increase in partnership from individuals, government, manufacturing sector, religious center, humanitarian services, because if care is not taken, whatever affects eyes will affect nose, so they say in Africa proverbs. I really want to thank you I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to deliver this paper and for your rapt attention. We have learned quite a lot from this COVID-19, and I pray that we will never experience this kind of pandemic again. And if at all it comes, then we should be adequately prepared for it so that it will not catch us unaware. I want to thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I have really learned a lot, and I believe a lot of us here have also taken in a lot from you. So thank you so much, Professor Awudobe Samuel Oyelakin Larry. He is the member board of governors for the Global Socio-Economic and Financial Evolution Network. Thank you so much, Pastor Awudobe, for that insightful, enriched, and well-delivered paper. But then again, to pose a question that I have just received, it says COVID-19 has brought to the front the gaps in our health sector as well as our humanitarian aid. Looking back at what has happened in previous years with Ebola, SARS, HRN1, do you think we are still prepared to deal with global crisis? I mean, that's a very strong question.
Yeah. Do you want me to answer that?
Yes, please. This question has been thrown to you.
Okay. Thank you very much for that question. Our experience in the past, like I said, has not really taught us significant lessons. Because at the global level, nobody thought this was going to come. Every country, I think to me, they were on their own, minding their own business, not knowing that there could be an intrusion from other countries that can negatively affect the economy of that country. For instance, the United States of America will never think that they can be worst hit with this COVID-19. The same thing with United Kingdom, the same thing with France. So if they had known, I think adequate measures will have been taken not only to protect themselves, not only to protect their countries, but as well to make sure that other nations of the world are even assisted. When, I mean, the person was talking about the gap as regards the medical issues. So the issue of medical attention, could have as well be given to both the developing nations and those ones that probably fall into the second world. The COVID-19 emerged from China. Even the World Health Organization treated it with levity, and that was the president, Donald Trump, was mad at WHO. In fact, when it happened, if the adequate measures had been taken, in fact, America would not have been worst hit like this. And then other nations also will have probably also prepared. For instance, every country and every state, even in Nigeria, is peculiar. In our state here, when there was total lockdown, everybody was locked down in some state. In Oyo State, our governor Seyi Makinde, knew what was peculiar to Oyo State. Instead of total lockdown, it was a partial lockdown because provisions were not made for people, how to feed, how to take care of their homes. So he still allowed markets and some other places to open so that people can feed. So if people can feed, then there should be medical intervention for these people that are most vulnerable. So with this COVID-19, I think we have learned our lesson that we need to go extra mile. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I can see somebody scoring me very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof, for this. God bless you. So I think, Prof, you can now stop screen sharing. Yes, and we shall move on.
Okay, let me close my screen so we can move on. All right, John.
Thank you very much. Okay, people, we have heard from Professor Aodobe with his submission. Now, I would like to say that you are allowed to ask questions. Please put your questions in the chat box. Yes, we shall discuss every question you want. Where we will not be able to discuss, we shall forward them to their respected speakers and then collate all and give it to you. Next on our speaker list, we have from Dr. Jamila Ahmed, she is a senior lecturer, Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities for University Technology Malaysia, UT.
Ó hang again. But àgbé sí Facebook. So méjì ló máa jẹ́. So how was my presentation? Throughout the world, did you?
All right, thank you very much. We shall proceed from there. We have Dr. Jamila Ahmed. She is the Senior Lecturer, Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities at the University Technology Malaysia. Dr. Jamila has over 20 years of experience in the teaching profession. She has worked as a teacher and also royal tutor to the princesses of Sultan Brunei. Dr. Jamila joined UTM as a senior lecturer with educational leadership and supervision as her focal area. Her hard work and passion has been crowned with many awards, including Excellence Performance Awards, Index Journal Award, awards from the Sultanate of Bintan, Indonesia, and others. She is the royal advisor to two sultans, and that is the Sultan of Bintan and Sultan of Riau, Lengga, Indonesia, from year 2020 to the year 2030. Dr. Jamila is also the founder of DDJA Rich Resources, a publishing company which is also involved in charity works. Our audience, please let's hear from Dr. Jamila Ahmed on sustainability, addressing global challenges with global solutions. Thank you so much, Dr. Jamila, for gracing today's World Humanitarian Day. Thank you. Dr. Jamila, yes, you have the floor.
All right, a very good day to everyone. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I would like to express my gratitude to the organizer, High Consult with Collaboration UTHM, especially to Mr. John Agre for inviting me to be one of the panel speakers for World Humanitarian Day 2020 webinar event with the theme addressing global challenges with global solutions. My talk today entitled, please allow me to share the slide with everyone. All right, can you see my slide? Mr. John?
Can see, yes, we can see your slide. Can you please put it, yes, into slideshow? Perfect.
All right. So my talk today entitled Sustainability in Humanitarian Action. I am Dr. Jamila from UTM. Okay, let me start with sustainable development, SD. The most widely cited definitions of sustainable development, SD, come from the Brundtland Report, which was published by the United Nations in 1987. It defines the concept as development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So in other words, SD means thinking about how our action affect the environment, people, and human activities all around the world, both today and tomorrow, which is in the future. So building on this concept, the United Nations launched the Millennium Development Goals in the year of 2000. In September 2015, the General Assembly adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development that includes 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or in short, SDGs. So this is a diagram of 17 Sustainable Development Goals. They are the blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all. And they address the global challenges, including those related to poverty, inequality, climate change, environmental degradation, peace, and justice. This goal were designed for countries to strive for, but currently many organizations consider them as a guide for their own sustainability initiative. So in short, sustainable development SD rests on three pillars, which is economic efficiency, social equity, environmental preservation. In our SD plan, we should strive to find the best balance between these three, which is financial resources, economic efficiency, social responsibilities, and the need to protect the environment. So I give you a case. For example, in our city, we can find many shops that sell fast fashion at rock bottom prices, very cheap. Why do they sell the goods at very low price? If I ask you, then it can be two reasons. One, probably let's say you want to buy a t-shirt at very low price. Why is too low? First, maybe it's secondhand t-shirt. But if it's new t-shirt with very, very low price, it may be the labor cost involved is low with an unethical labor conditions, or the factory may well be damaging the environment. It is a clear case where the economic advantage goes against social and environmental consideration. But the truth is, many of us still buy cheap product or this type of product. The point is that in every decision, a balance must be struck between these three dimensions, which are economic efficiency, social equity, and environment preservation. What does sustainability mean in a humanitarian context? The mandate of humanitarian organization does not explicitly mention protecting environment or even working toward SD. Does a humanitarian organization really need to think about SD? Humanitarian actions are often short-term intervention that focus on saving lives and alleviating human suffering in crisis situation. So it's a priority that is meant to be based on the needs of the beneficiary and delivered rapidly, impartially, and independently of any political objective. But we understand every organization has a duty to manage these negative consequences of its work. So for example, ICRC, they always taken the environment into account in these assistance activities. Will it make sense to treat people in hospital without taking care of the contaminated waste that is generated? Should they build latrines near a source of drinking water for a village, given the risk of spreading waterborne disease? So what ICRC has learned over the past 8 years of integrating sustainability into their activities is that these efforts improve the quality of their programs. They end up providing better services to the beneficiaries, take better care of the environment, and reduce the operating costs. And they also consider SD as a moral duty in several respects. Global challenges COVID-19 on 30 January 2020, who declared the novel coronavirus COVID-19 outbreak a public health emergency of international concern and a pandemic on 11 March. The COVID situation is dynamic and evolving. As of 17 August to 2020, over 7 million death cases reported worldwide in more than 215 countries, areas, or territories. Is a very sad figure, really. So how COVID-19 is changing humanitarian operations? Well, humanitarian needs were already at all-time high before the COVID-19 pandemic and are now growing further. On May 7, 2020, the United Nations launched a global appeal to protect millions of people and stem the spread of the coronavirus in fragile countries. What humanitarian assistance look like during and after the COVID pandemic? So I will share you some pictures here. Its agency practice physical distancing at distribution site. They divide people into small groups and ask them to stay 1.5 meters apart from one another. For example, in Syria and Ukraine, they distribute food door to door to reduce crowd. Hand washing station and hygiene products. United Nations agency install hand washing station in refugee camps, registration site, transit center, and other places. To encourage people to stay at home, they created and distributed household kit with mosquito nets, home water treatment, and soap to lessen the likelihood of malaria and other common illnesses for breaking out. Temperature check in some relief site and refugee camp. Its agency undertake thermal screening to ensure that sick people are separated from others to reduce infection. They try very hard to overcome the problem. Now, I would like to share my case study, which is my research, qualitative research, about real life heroes, Soraya, Lulu, Rohingya refugee children in Johor, Malaysia, and COVID-19. So let me brief a little bit about COVID-19 in Malaysia. Till 17 August 2020, 12 p.m., new cases 12, 9,212 cases, positive cases, and 125 cases. So this slide shows the data until 17 August 2020. Now, for the Rohingya refugee in Malaysia, as of June 2020, there are about 177,940 refugee and asylum seeker registered in UHSR in Malaysia, which consists Myanmar, Rohingya, Pakistani, and others. But from this number, 101,320 Rohingya refugee in Malaysia. So what type of aids given to Rohingya refugee during COVID-19? So there are two types. The first one, if the refugee with positive COVID, they will get free treatment, free meal and facilities, and that will be provided by the government. But those refugees who are not positive with COVID, they get free screening program, intervention program from the government, but it's meals like or money, they're not given by the government, but NGO, which is a non-government organizations, will assist on this. So there are numbers of humanitarian aids and center in Malaysia. For the government, it works under Ministry of Women Development, Family and Communities, and underneath a Department of Public Welfare. But for the NGO, the diagram, it shows 13 top NGOs in Malaysia. So what I would like to share is the good thing done by Madam Soraya and Lulu, and they are unsung hero. They are real heroes, life hero. Cahaya Surya Bhakti CSB is a registered Malaysian society founded with the visions of providing community-based support and assistance to refugee populations in state of Johor. This is Madam Soraya. I really respect her. To me, she is really unsung hero. She established the first CSB school in Johor in 2013. Now they have about 4 schools. And this is Madam Lulu Alkaf, another unsung heroine. She is the head teacher and who look after the children in a few schools. There are about 4 schools in Johor. So what they do, since 2018, they have successfully established 4 schools for the Rohingya refugee children. Okay, so they oversee the education of more than 200 Rohingya refugee children, primary and secondary. So from my research, from my case study, I found during the COVID-19 MCO, this NGO faced a lot of challenges, but they managed to find the solutions. From my interview, from my observation, from my data analysis, document analysis, I found when I interviewed Madam Soraya, I asked her, do you have any problem to help these refugee children? You know what her answer? She said, take the problem as a challenge. Do not take a problem as a problem, but take the problem as a challenge and find ways for the solution. And this is a very good statement from her. And then according to Lulu, she said, we must not think of ourselves, but others. So what they do it, what they did during the MCO, they conduct CSB food drive from March to July 2020. At the beginning of MCO, they started CSB food drive to provide food hampers to the Rohingya refugee community. Over the MCO and our MCO period, they managed to send about 2,000 food hampers to their families. Then the second one, CSB education contingency from March to May 2020, they had to look into their education contingency. It's very sad to say these refugee children's did no exposure, no television in their house, no laptop, no internet. So what the teacher did, they sent out worksheet and learning material to students in the community. Worksheet were made very simple to understand so that very minimum supervision given. And the learning material was sent out every 2 weeks. And upon sending a new set, they collected the previous set to marks. So how noble they are to do all this. These are samples of picture with their material given to the students. And then the third one, what they did is CSB Outreach Learning Program from May to August 2020. The teacher went out to smaller community in different areas to conduct a lesson for children. SOP were made for this program and followed well. They could only do the lesson once a week for each area, as they had 10 different areas to cover in the 5 days of a week. All right, I asked Madam Lulu, what motivated her to help the NGO? She answered, we strive to do what we can. And since we believe that the future is in the hand of the young generation, we want to give them the opportunity and access to education and life skill. And her statement is very, very relevant to the SDG goal number 4, which is to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunity for all. With that, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Dr. Jamila, for that creative presentation with practical facts. We are very happy to receive those beautiful messages from you. But there is a question. Looking at the current global dispensation, can we have equity or balance for the 3 pillars? That is economic efficiency, social equity, and environmental preservation. Can we really have an equitable balance for these 3 pillars? Is it possible?
Thank you, Mr. John, for the questions. Of course, look at this example of CSP. Does CSP fulfill the 3 pillars of sustainable development? Yes. Look at number 1, economic resources. Money and resources received from the donor were used optimally and efficiently. And the second one, social equity. The Rohingya refugee children were given equal right to get education. It's very sad to hear from them. These children, they have no passport, they have no identification card, they have no future. You know, their life is, they will go to school, start from kindergarten, primary, then secondary, then they have to wait. They cannot work because it's illegal for them to work. They have to wait. They have to wait for the sympathy from other country, for example, US or other European country, who would like to, if they are good enough, talented and skillful, they will invite to further their study in other university. Or they also, the Rohingya refugee, they waited for the settlement, new settlement to other countries like USA, Australia, and New Zealand. And it is very difficult for that opportunity. So social equity there, the Rohingya refugee children were given equal right to get education. This is good because education is for all, even though they are refugee. The third one is environment preservation. Staff practice physical distancing during distributions and teaching activity. They use sanitizer, wearing masks, undertaking thermal screening to ensure they are healthy enough to conduct their activities. To me, in any decision we make, we need to start thinking of these 3 pillars. Regardless what activity, are you in education, in the factory, or any aspect of work life or life, sustainable should be in mind. You have to ask yourself first, is it benefit? Is it okay? Is economic resources used optimally, efficiently? If the social equity being given, is the environment protected? All these we should ask ourselves. Thank you, Mr. John. I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, yes, you have answered the question. So we have the hope and faith that the 3 pillars, that is the economic efficiency, social equity, environmental preservation, it is possible to achieve an equitable balance with all these things, especially looking at how climate crisis is also on the ascendancy, and looking at how we're facing issues with global health. It means that if we're able to address all these 3 pillars, which also plug into the 5 P's of the Sustainable Development Goals, we will surely make this world a better place. We want to thank you so much, Dr. Jamila, for that insightful and creative presentation, and also appreciate you for your time here with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, viewers. You are also free to put in your questions, which we will surely send to the speakers to address them on your behalf. Okay, people, we will surely move on to the next speaker all the way from Egypt. We have with us Engineer Ibrahim Ramadan. He is the Senior Project Manager in the Ministry of Finance, Egypt. He is going to talk on the symbiotic relationship between technology and humanity, looking at how COVID-19 has given us the platform where everything is now virtual. How are the youth capitalizing on this? How is the humanitarian sector using technology and the digital space to serve the most vulnerable current situations, as well as to serve the most vulnerable communities? Now, Engineer Ibrahim Ramadan is at the Ministry of Finance, the Minister's Office. He has 12 years of experience in the technology sector, and also he's TOT certified. He's working on big data, AI, and IoT. He is a project management professional as well as ITIL Foundation certified from Axilos. He is the steering committee member at the World Youth Forum 2017 all the way to now. He also holds a diploma in management from Escler University. Thank you. Thank you very much, Engineer Ibrahim Ramadan, for gracing this occasion for us. Please, the floor is yours. Thank you. Please unmute yourself. You can unmute yourself. Yes.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, we are clear.
How are you?
We are fine.
I am very happy to be here with you, and special thanks for John for his invitation about to join the great conference. And my topic it's about the technology and the human and the relationship between it. And as John introduced me, that I have a lot of experience, like 12 years in the technology field, and I have a lot of courses like development courses, management courses, and by the way, I have ITIL certified and PMP. Then let's start our presentation with this quote. It's as if humans are the problem and the technology is the solution. Yeah, as you seen the previous day in the coronavirus, a lot of sectors use the technology to solve the problem that facing this sector. And another quote, it's called, "One machine can do the work of 50 or 10 men, but no machine can do the work of one." As within in this code, yes, the machine it's okay that he helped the human, but without the human, I think the machine cannot innovate it, not working. Then the separating the responsibility between the human and the technology. Digital technology is excellent at doing some things to the human. On the other hand, the human are great at doing other things. The beauty is when the two come together, when technology acts as a nature extension to the human capabilities. This is the a very useful and very adaptable thing to be technology act as a natural extensions to the human capabilities. Then let's ask our attendees the questions, and please yani, we need to interact with me because this session it will be make like a discussion with us. How can the technology save the humanity? Anybody have an answer? Could you drop in the chat bot? How can the technology save the human or humanity? Anybody have like brainstorming with us? Hello? Can anybody write or say something about how can the technology save the human? John, what's your opinion about how can the technology save the human?
All right. Now, for me, I believe humanity can save humanity, not necessarily technology. Technology is only serving as a tool to help us to get there. So that is my take on that.
Okay, that's great. Anybody have any idea or any answering about the questions? Okay. Then, yani, what from my point of view, the technology it's help all of us in our life. If we go to the school, the student use the technology to serve for the learning. If you go to the private sector companies or manufacturing, the office staff use the technology to deliver the contract or building projects. And also the teacher using the technology to make lessons nowadays, because Corona, if we need to, how can the technology save the people in the coronavirus? All of us use a smart way to collect or to get the service or product. In the rest of the presentation, I will see you what is the e-commerce growth in the corona. Then the technology it's not completely save the humanity, but it's help and make the human get the service or product with efficiently and effective way. Then this is the technology have or bring to us many benefits. One of them, as I mentioned, the student in the school use the technology to serve from the learning. Company use the technology to driven the contract or project. Teacher as well using the technology to make the lesson, and so on. Another quote: technology isn't just a change society, it's a changing what is mean to be human. Then the technology, it's acting a fatal role in the human life, because a lot of things now it's be electronic and be when nowadays we can in your home and request a lot of services and a lot of product. Then the technology have a lot of benefits to the human. Then another questions, not another question, it's like a discussion. You agree or disagree about what I said. Many people say that modern communication technology have negative affected to the social relationships. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Could you please drop down in the chat bot? Do you agree or not agree in this quote? Agree or not? Many people say that the modern communication technology is having negative affected to the social relationships. To what extent do you agree or not agree about that? One person here, it's don't agree. Why don't agree? And Aya here, it's still I agree. Tom agreed. Yeah, if I am agreed, but it is between for me, I agree and don't. Can anybody explain your opinion? It's allow John to someone speaking.
I think that there's someone who wants to speak to answer your question. Ibrahim.
Yeah. Yeah, can anyone discuss with me it agree or not agree? We can select Dr. Jamila to answer if it's applicable. Yeah.
Yes, if she is.
You agree or not agree? Yeah, I think you unmute.
All right, I think that they are using the poll. If you can see the screen, they are using the poll to respond. So do you agree technology can save humanity? 82% are saying yes, and 33% are saying no. Can you see the poll on the screen?
Poll?
Yes, check the screen. All right, so let's move on.
Okay. But I think a lot of people it's agree, and I am agree with that. Really, the modern or the technology, the new technology, it's have a negative effects. By the way, it depends using the technology. We can use the technology to be add on to our communication. Yeah, a lot of people here a lot of people agree about what we said. Then for example, in your home or in your if you have another friends, all of us use the mobile and in the meeting. That is it's make the people not focusing to the meeting. This one affected to the social negative. I will talking here about the IoT. If anybody know what is the IoT, it's Internet of Things. This is a new technology and a new concept of technology that everything it's connected. And the Internet of Things, by the way, it's a network, as you see in the picture here, is a network of internet connected objects. Object here, it can be a device, can be electronic, can be smartphone, and this object able to collect and exchange the data using the embedded sensor technology. This data allows device in the network to make a decision based on real-time information. For example, I think in the future you can, when you in your office and need to turn on or turn off the television or any electronic, you can make it. I think some like I am, by the way, I am travel in another in Korea, and I see electronic device. It's speaking to this is electronic, open, close, and make this action. This is the IoT. IoT, it is a network of internet connected objects, and as I mentioned, that object, it can be home, electronic, any assets, smartphone, and this object able to collect and exchange the data using the sensor. If here someone is specialized in the sensor, embedded sensor, it will be good. This data allows device to make a decision like open, close, turn off, turn on. This is the new technology. I will show to you the numbers of the connected device in the world. In 2016, there more 4.7 billion things it's connected, and in 2020, it's over 6 billion smartphone it's connected. And what is the expectation, or what is the expected in the 2021? It's the market will be increased to nearly 11.6 billion IoT device. Do you imagine what is the number? It's a huge increase. From year to year, it's about 5 or 6 billion. And by 2025, it will be 21 billion IoT device. Do you imagine what is the internet? And as you know, the 5G now, it's already published in more countries. In the 2025, it will be 21 billion IoT device. Then the technology, it's greatly helping the people. Technology, it's related to the sustainability. All of that technology and sustainability are being the part of being of providing solution of COVID-19. All sector in COVID-19, it's adapt the organization or the entity to adapt with the COVID-19. More and more sector, or more and more like retail sector, make like an website, and this website can make shopping with this website, like e-commerce, Amazon and Alibaba. This is e-commerce platform. In COVID-19, all process, all product, all services, it's technology help to deliver this product or service. And this is some statistics about the grossing the e-commerce platform in worldwide. As you know, as you see, in 2020, it's $3.9 trillion. The revenue, the sales of e-commerce in 2020, it's $3.9 trillion. And the estimated or the prediction in 2021, it will be $4.5 trillion. And I think this number, it will be increased. And another now it's I finish my presentation, and I feel a good session for us, and I try to simplify the information that contained in the presentation. Then if you have any questions, it's I am with you. And finally, I want to thank all sponsor of this conference, and especially hired consultant, and especially active person John. I like it. It's my brother, and inshallah in the next conference to be all of us in the safe and in the great health, inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Engineer Ibrahim, for your contribution to that on technology. So if I would like to ask this question to you, for you, looking at this COVID-19, do you think technology in its entirety is the solution? Because now we've moved from the physical to the digital space. So does it mean that technology is a key component in solving COVID-19? Or we are looking at the medical side, that is just vaccination? What is your take on that? Ibrahim, are you there? All right. Will any of the speakers want to take this question up? Will any of the speakers want to take this question up? Is technology the solution to COVID-19, or we are just looking at the vaccination aspect? In that regard, I think we'll move on to the next speaker, and then we'll revisit this question again. If anyone wants to, or even the participants, if anyone wants to speak on this question, you can raise your hand or give a signal. Dr. Jamila, are you there with us? I think you have to unmute. Okay. Yes, please unmute.
All right. Thank you, John. I think technology is very important, especially during COVID, where when we talk about education, students during MCO, students cannot go to school. So what in a big city, in a very well-developed area, teacher conduct online teaching to the students, and they give homework, they give lecture, and not only a student in school, but also for the lecturer. They use technology, whether it's WebEx or Zoom, or any form to convey the lesson. So how you look at technology, whether it's harmful or not, it depends on how you use it. I mean, if you use technology, you've been on media social 24 hours, this is very harmful. But if you limit yourself, you only allow for a short, for certain period to use the technology to go on media social, it's fine. So how you look at things, how you, whatever you do in life, it should be moderate. It's not, it shouldn't be too much on one side and too much on another side. That's what I think, John. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jamila, for that. You have actually said it all, that technology is actually a necessity. Yes, it is a necessity. And in order to, because looking at now, some relief items have been sent using drones. Now, with that technology, we wouldn't have been able to capitalize on that aspect. In remote areas where human maneuvering is not possible, machines are being sent there to deliver aid. So technology in its entirety is not the solution, but it helps us to get the needed assistance. Thank you so much, Dr. Jamila, for that insightful answer. So much. I appreciate this. Hello, everyone. We will bring to you our next speaker, Dr. Jessica Huang. Now, a bit of let's so here, yes. Now, Dr. Jessica is actually the COVID-19 response and recovery fellow. Dr. Jessica Huang is the COVID-19 Response Recovery Fellow, Bloomberg City Leadership Initiative, Harvard University. She's working on city-level policies for pandemic response and recovery while doing public health research with Median Digital Health Lab to produce Learn About COVID-19.org, a free resource to increase access to scientifically verified information and reduce the danger of misinformation. She received her doctorate in public health with a concentration in humanitarian studies and human rights from Harvard University and a master's in learning, design, and technology from Stanford. She has worked as a DLab instructor at MIT, and her projects have won recognition, including the top prize in the natural disasters category of a Grand Challenge for Development, technology to support education in crisis and conflict settings. She's also a co-founder of Zimba, a social enterprise providing clean water in communities with limited infrastructure and settlements of people who have been displaced in India, Nepal, and Bangladesh. It is a privilege to have you here, Dr. Jessica. Thank you so much for gracing the occasion. Thank you. She will be sharing her thoughts on COVID-19, the intermediaries and intermediates between COVID-19 and the humanitarian sector. So over to you, Dr. Jessica.
Thank you so much for that very kind introduction. I'm so grateful to be a part of this with all of you today, having this important conversation on World Humanitarian Day Thank you for all the insights shared so far. And I hope that we can keep this conversation going because this topic is so important. The introduction that you gave, John, was so generous, but I should clarify that the views expressed here are, of course, my own and not reflective of the organizations I'm a part of. So as many people have already mentioned, we are facing unprecedented convergence of challenges. Not only are we dealing with a COVID-19 global pandemic, but there are many, many other health challenges that are facing us, particularly in humanitarian settings, where there are high risks of disease transmission in really dense areas. So concerns about communicable diseases like Ebola, cholera. The Global Fund also mentions that AIDS, malaria, tuberculosis are all still of concern. And there are limited resources for prevention and healthcare in these settings. As Dr. Jamila mentioned, we are also highly concerned about this convergence with environmental stressors. We have seen that there have been natural disasters still occurring during this time, earthquakes, hurricanes. We have seen the locust swarms affecting East Africa, water supply concerns, and of course, we are also faced with ongoing conflicts, unfortunately, ongoing violent conflicts. In particular, many people have been raising alarm about the situation in Yemen and in many other locations of how we need to come together as a global community to address this convergence of challenges. And with this convergence of challenges, several issues that we have been addressing in the humanitarian sector are exacerbated more than usual. For example, there are many concerns around gender-based violence, what is happening with mothers, with pregnant women at higher risk, what is happening with our children, with girls' education being interrupted, and many opportunities lost, with the additional mental health stress. I put post here in parentheses because it's not just post-traumatic stress. Many people are still undergoing traumatic stress at this time. And again, as we raise, challenges with the water supply can mean inadequate water sanitation and hygiene, and what does that mean? So UN Women, for example, raised that this is a time that we really need to look at gender responsive humanitarian initiatives, because we need to take into account things like specific needs for women and girls, not only increase access to not only increase exposure to gender-based violence, as we mentioned, but also large numbers of frontline workers are females, large numbers of caretakers are females, and there's an increased need to be really gender responsive in our work here. So at this intersection, I'm personally involved in a couple projects that I'd like to share with you, and these are some of the areas that we're working in. As we had just listened to from Engineer Ibrahim and the discussion that followed, technology access is really important to ensure that we can address some of the inequities with the digital divide, which not only presents major barriers to information access during the pandemic, but also, as Dr. Jamila mentioned, it impacts things like our access to education, maybe our access to work, as so many things move to the virtual realm. There's an inequitable distribution of resources and funding. I would just like to share with you the statistic highlighted in an article in The Lancet that the UN Office for the Coordination of Human Affairs estimates that global COVID-19 humanitarian response would cost about 10.3 billion, but only 20% has been pledged. And in contrast, in just a couple months, governments have spent over 10 trillion on economic stimulus packages for their own economies. And so there is widespread inequities in how these resources are being distributed. And people are largely left out of decision-making. And so how can we do this work with more of a lens for inclusion? So some of the projects that I'm working on now with a very large team, so definitely cannot take credit, are looking at ways that we can put in information kiosks and support the development of information kiosks. We are collaborating with the Youth Social Advocacy Team in Rhino Camp and Bidi, two large refugee settlements in Uganda, to put in these information kiosks. People could come. If they have devices, there would be access to solar charging and internet data connection. And if they don't have access to devices, there are a couple communal tablets that people could use. As we know, information access and connectivity is so critical during this time. And we're exploring a partnership with learnaboutcovid19.org, which is a free resource that aims to increase equitable access to scientifically verified information during the pandemic. And not only is this a website, but it also has capabilities to integrate with WhatsApp and Facebook through chatbots so that people can access information wherever they are. And so we're still trying to find ways to be creative in these kinds of collaborations to be reducing these barriers to information access. In terms of an equitable distribution of funding and resources, it is difficult at the level in which I work to be addressing global commitments to funding, although we can continue to advocate. So I am part of the International Development Innovation Network, where many members have been trying to form grassroots networks for resource sharing, collaborative problem solving to get around some of these challenges with an equitable distribution of funding and resources in ways that we can share within ourselves, create mini grants, and spur grassroots collaborations. And in terms of people left out of decision making, I'll share with you another example resource that we've been using, but through some of my work at the Harvard Bloomberg City Leadership Initiative, of which I'm only one of their many fellows, we are doing a lot of stakeholder engagement for policy recommendations. So really trying to hear from organizations that work with refugees and ideally refugees themselves and other members of the community about what kinds of policies we should be developing. And so the key here again is integration and inclusion to be addressing some of these inequities. So this is a little bit about what learnaboutcovid19.org looks like. It not only is a database where you can ask questions and get responses from public health experts, but there are also visuals created by in a wonderful collaboration between Meet and Digital Health Lab and Students Against COVID-19, a student group at Harvard. And they create these visuals and are now working with the localization lab to do translations to increase access to this information. And then I'd also like to share with you a resource from MIT's Humanitarian Innovation Practice that has been really urging inclusive humanitarian work. And so they have tools like this participation matrix that help us ensure that we're not just doing one-way engagement or information exchange, resource exchange, but that we're trying to be as two-way in our interactions as possible and eventually have more collaboration and leadership from the displaced communities. So just to summarize, in inclusive innovation, we're really hoping to see more initiatives be community driven. So how can we invest more in capacity building and resource sharing, supportive collaborations? How can we be more two-way in our interactions? So this is dialogue and exchange of information and assets, not just information transfer in one direction. And how can we take more participatory approaches in sustainable development and humanitarian response? And another big aspect too is how can we build in more opportunity feedback and learning. So really approaching this work with a lot of humility so that we can be building in processes for continuous feedback, iterative improvements, and really developing learning systems. So with that, I would be happy to take any questions. And if there's no time, please feel free to connect with me afterwards. And thank you again to everyone for participating in this conversation. And again, to all our frontline workers in humanitarian response.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jessica, for that insightful presentation, very straight to point. Now, there are two questions here that I would want to ask from some of the participants. And one is asking, hello, Jessica, is the information kiosk physical or digital? You mentioned the information kiosk. The accent, is it physical or digital? Now, if it's physical, considering the COVID-19, how realistic is this? Yes.
Thank you. Sorry, I was muted. Thank you for that question. It is incredibly important. In this collaboration that we're exploring with the youth social advocacy team in Uganda, they are proposing and have actually began a pilot with 5 physical information kiosks. And of course, we need to take into account various precautions that we need to consider for preventing disease transmission, for example, face coverings, physical distancing, hand hygiene, the typical precautions that we will need to take with any physical initiative. My understanding for the reason behind this physical kiosk is that for many people who have barriers to accessing digital information on their own at home, this kind of physical kiosk can help bridge some of those barriers. So for example, by providing solar charging, by providing devices for those who don't have smart devices that are able to connect on their own. And of course, these aren't purely physical information kiosks because they are connected to the digital space and all the resources there within. So for example, resources like learnaboutcovid19.org is one that we are hoping to continue to make available through this partnership, and other important resources online, including educational opportunities, as Dr. Jamila mentioned earlier.
Thank you very much for that answer. Okay, so there's another question here that says, you talked about enablers where you made mention of dialogue, inclusion, as well as other quality traits, humility. Now, with respect to humanitarian workers, how do we address their issues in order to motivate them?
Thank you for that really important question. I understand this question to be referring to some of the challenges with humanitarian workers rather than on the side of those who support humanitarian workers. And I should just clarify that as somebody who is not an on-the-ground humanitarian worker in one of these settings, I cannot purport to speak for them, but I do believe that what we can do to support humanitarian workers and the challenges that they face is really listen firsthand to what are the challenges that they're prioritizing, and then really make a commitment that we're not going to leave humanitarian workers on their own, that as a global community, we can come together to find ways to be enablers, to channel resources, to find ways to collaborate and support humanitarian workers on the ground. But as much as I can share with you some of the challenges that I've heard from colleagues, I will acknowledge that I am not an on-the-ground humanitarian worker at this time, so I do not claim to be an expert in that area.
All right, thank you very much, and Dr. Jessica, for your insights on the COVID-19 response, as well as helping with other information kiosks and then learn about COVID-19. It is very true that on the onset of COVID-19, there were a lot of misinformation, which also gave rise to high spikes of fear, panic, and different versions of what exactly the COVID-19 was all about. So with this platform about learn about COVID-19.org, we hope that your team will use this to help humanity in getting the right information, and also to stay informed, that is well informed about the way forward. Thank you so much, Dr. Jessica, for your insights today. We are very much privileged to have you. Thank you. Okay, people, always feel free to ask the speakers questions. You can use the chat box to also put forward your questions. If your chats are not being read, simply show a signal with one of the icons and we will let you have the floor to ask the speakers questions. And also the speakers are also free to jump in to answer the questions, even if it is not directed at them. Thank you very much. We'll have our next speaker all the way from Nepal. He is in the person of Anandi Nepali. He is the U.S. Embassy Youth Council member 2019-2020. And he is also here with us. He is also the country chair in Nepal, the Global Goodwill Ambassadors. Now, he is a fellow global youth change leader. He is also an ambassador of the Global Socio-Economic and Financial Evolution Network, GSFEN, Global Peace Chain. He's also the Young World Leaders for Humanity. So everything about Anandi embodies youth, volunteering, and environmental. So he is actually an environmental activist and a scholar of the public policy and management at the University School of Management. He has been working as a youth and environmental activist, serving for almost 6 years in the NGO space, human rights, peace, SDG, social justice, and good governance. It is a privilege to have you here, Ananda. We welcome you to hear also your take on volunteerism and humanitarian services in a time of uncertainties. Yes, you can unmute yourself now. You can unmute yourself now, Ananda.
Yeah, okay. Namaste, everyone. It's me, Ananda Nepali. I'm really great honor to be here, and thank you so much, John. And my dearest friend Musa is also here. I'm really appreciated. Uh, 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 wish you World Humanitarian Day, all of you. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we are loud and clear.
Okay. I'm going to present. Did you see my presentation?
Yes, it is. Put it into presentation mode.
Okay. Do you see?
Yes, put it into presentation mode.
Okay. My topics is volunteerism and humanitarian. Actually, my career started as a volunteer. Actually, I want to share about the volunteer in Nepal. Actually, volunteering in Nepal is the opportunity to discover amazing landscape of the Himalayas and the country's cultural heritage. Basically, after the devastating earthquake in 2015, international volunteers are most needed. And many international volunteers applied for construction project to rebuild Nepalese communities. Volunteer in Nepal to protect the ancient sites in Kathmandu. Kathmandu is the capital city of Nepal, and I want to this is the COVID-19. Many youth are facing mental health, and I was getting anxious using too much social media, so I deactivated my Facebook account, and due to this social media, various negative messages affected to many youth, and the fake news and rumors that it's really worrying to us and the normally people. Due to COVID-19 and lockdown, young people are facing anxiety, tiredness,
Hello, Ananda.
Yes, yes, sir.
Yes, can you put your PowerPoint in presentation mode?
Oh, okay, okay. I think
Use the F5, F5.
wait.
Or the fourth icon at the top left.
Okay.
All right, you can continue as you figure it out, okay? Please continue.
Okay, okay, wait. I think I have some problem on. Okay.
Okay, let me see if I can do it from here for you. All right, you can continue, please. Just continue.
Okay. Yeah, I think.
Please continue.
Okay. Do you see? Okay. Uh, mm, uh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Mainly, and to share poor ways to save your volunteering in uncertain times. Some ideas how we can help the most vulnerable populations. First, yeah, be alert for the best practices. Responding to community needs is often nuanced and complex, and during the time when your personal health or safety could be compromised, it can be even more so. If you're looking to volunteer at work or to organize efforts for a work team, start by taking a look at your organization core competencies and consider a cross-functional approach to address the needs of your employees and the people you want to serve. Stay alert to resources from the occupational safety and health and the Center for Disease Control and Prevention to ensure you and your colleagues are equipped with the latest information. Second, are you hearing me?
Yes, you are loud and
Yeah.
clear.
The second point is second point is support your local nonprofits. You may be evaluating your typical and ongoing volunteering activities and considering if and how you can best continue to lend your support while keeping yourself, your family, and your colleagues healthy. Yeah, and you can encourage from volunteers hoping to support communities who are particularly vulnerable to the spread of disease, including those with pre-existing health conditions, people who are homeless, and our elders. Elders, elders are the most vulnerable due to this COVID-19. And the times like this do require preparation and special protocols from all of us, including our community partners running housing and nutrition support services, who may also have an increased need for increasingly hard to find supply. We know that the local nonprofits are the ones best suited to support their communities for the long haul. Consider hosting a food drive for a local food bank, or cloth drive for your local shelter, or contributing a relief fund like this from global giving. And many NGOs, international organizations, and business houses, which allows you to support local causes to globally. And the third point is become a virtual volunteer. Right now, uh, uh, in this world, there is a lot of volunteers needs in this pandemic COVID-19. The virtual volunteering opportunity available on volunteer mats that offer the science of history involving causes that want your support, from mentoring a small business to helping reduce isolation from elder over phone, to offering your civil engineering skills to create sustainable community, and virtual volunteering through virtual volunteering, many mental health awareness. We can do many awarenesses on the education sector, health, and various humanitarian support. If your passion is to help those most vulnerable to this immediate crisis, you can find a specific opportunity to lend your skills. For example, uh, becoming an online tutor for child and other youth, and experiencing homelessness, and performing research and writing grants organizations. And the fourth point is embrace inclusive behavior and mindset. Being prepared for everything that happens in our world is virtually impossible. But with some creative thinking and planning, we can continue to be of service and help those most vulnerable in our communities, even when we may ourselves be stressed or worried. Often the most powerful act of service is simple and deeply personal one. And think, think, do you hear?
Yes, we hear you loud and clear.
I think I can't change my slide. Yeah. Okay. Thank
Do you need assistance?
Yeah. I could not scroll my mouse. Why? What is going on? I think.
All right. How about if you restart that part?
Okay.
You are using annotation instead of scrolling, or you can simply stop sharing and then read from.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
So now,
You see?
from
Yeah.
your
Okay.
laptop, can you
Yeah.
see?
Yeah. Yeah. I think now,
All right. Okay. From your
yeah,
laptop,
some
can
of
you?
the, yeah, do you see?
Yes, we see it very clear.
Yeah, some of the issues, challenges, and the opportunities around the humanitarian response and volunteer, including we can fully engage in volunteers throughout the humanitarian cycle. Before, during, and after emergencies, providing appropriate support and system to manage risks and promote the safety, security, and well-being of volunteers. Delivering on the grand bargain commitments, effectively localize the humanitarian agenda, and bridging humanitarian development gaps to strengthen community resilience. And according to United Nations Volunteer produced the 2018 State of World's Volunteerism Report, SWBR, which has emphasized the importance of understanding the community-based experience of volunteers. Volunteer needs when responding to emergencies and strengthening local resilience process. In 2021, the next SWBR will look at volunteer efforts across the COVID-19 pandemic, including preparedness and response efforts. And this is the distinctive contribution of volunteers. It's the emergence agenda. Uh, the SWBR 2018 suggests that communities in crisis value local volunteering for two main reasons. Firstly, volunteering gives people the ability to self-organize around their own priorities. Secondly, communities find that the solidarity, empathy, and connections generated through social action provide a form of protection when times are hard. And second is in the emergence, is in the planning and preparedness. And self-organized volunteer groups and individuals, often called spontaneous volunteers, play a crucial role in the immediate response to disaster and saving life. And approximately 80% of survivors of the Tangshan earthquake in China, for example, were rescued by spontaneous volunteers who were able to quickly self-mobilize. In 2015, in Nepal, many international volunteers helped to mitigate and overcome the destruction of the earthquake in Nepal. And the local actors have often been seen as particularly important in a context where access to international aid actors is restricted. However, even in this environment, local volunteers are rarely directly involved in humanitarian planning and preparedness efforts. And mm, and there's also coordination between volunteers and other actors. It is a very important emergence in the and establishing clear coordination measure between volunteers and other actors is crucial for an agile, efficient, and creative response. And in emergence like COVID-19 and various the disaster, in that time we should collaborate and coordinate with many business group, many international organizations, and many governmental organizations, agencies for the overcome the crisis. And the evidence shows that more inclusive models of disaster management are needed to build on the existing capacities and resilience within the communities. And emergency managers must account for time not only to assess the protocol to place spontaneous volunteers in appropriate role, but also to develop management techniques that guide them in those roles, following key principles for effective volunteering. And uh, and prospect volunteers, proximity, trust, and embeddedness within communities are essential elements for humanitarian effectiveness. And evidence on the lived experience of humanitarian volunteers remain limited. Recent research by volunteer in conflicts and emergency initiative on that, because local volunteers are at the heart of humanitarian response. They often face risks to their safety, security, and well-being. As many volunteers are also victims themselves, they are faced with the uncertainties of working to manage local tension as member of those communities, um, and while also adhering to humanitarian principle. Then I come into my sense and say, what is happening to me? I'm also vulnerable. I can also be a victim. The fact of wearing an emblem isn't a bulletproof path. A female volunteer in conflict area. It's parts of the female volunteer in conflict area, and gender and inclusion. Different groups have particular vulnerabilities during crisis and need to be mobilized and supported accordingly. In South Asia, Bangladesh, the involvement of women and marginalized groups in preparedness has proven not only to decrease the gender gap mortality, but also to promote more inclusive practices for community mobilization and strengthening resilience of disasters. And community-based volunteers are not only first responder in emergency situations like COVID-19, but also remain long after external assistance has left, helping to strengthen resilience at local levels. As such, they effectively act as the link between humanitarian action and sustainable development. There has been a progressive shift in research towards understanding local capabilities and how these can effectively interact to drive sustainable actions through humanitarian development, peace, and access. And this is based on the notion of resilience, humanitarianism, whereby crisis response take into account people's capacity to respond and adapt and bounce back. And strengthen resilience to sucks, I think. Humanitarian volunteers movement. Uh, Local volunteers are affiliated with many international organizations that always inspire for movement or work in contacts where there is crisis, armed conflict, and violence worldwide. Local voluntary actions and leadership efforts are often explained by a sense of serious responsibility among affected populations. We feel responsible. We have skills in first aid and how to respond and give support, and we have a duty. It's not something like we are rushing to have. We are the first ones, the ones where there is a huge obligation of volunteering conflict in North Africa. And this is my I'm also the environment volunteer and environment scholar, and we initiated this Bagmati River cleanup mega campaigns. It is on May 18, 2013, under the initiative of former Chief Secretary Linamani Paudel, the Bagmati mega cleanup campaign was started. Every Saturday, Nepal Army, Nepal Police, and general public gather to clean the waste and sewage from the river. The Friends of the Bagmati is an organization set up in November 2000. According to its website, its aim is to reverse the degradation of the Bagmati River. In 2020, Bagmati River is claimed to be almost pure after a long effort of 14 years. The 360th week of the Bagmati cleaning mega campaign was affected as a result of nationwide lockdown imposed to stream the spread of deadly coronavirus COVID-19. And I want to share the global solutions. Mainly, I'm currently working as a United Nations survey enumerator, and on the occasion of 75 year anniversary, and mainly recently we global leaders stood the international community priorities to recover better from the pandemic. We can strengthen. Recently, we can focus on strengthen solidarity between people and nations, prioritize universal access to healthcare, invest more in education and youth program, and tackle climate crisis with great urgency, and we should rethink the global economy and make human rights central to recovery plans, and achieve universal and affordable access to digital technology, and yeah, and we should prioritize to achieve universal access to safe water and sanitation, and we should make focus on the future sustainable goals like greater equality with countries, more respect for human rights, and more environmental protections, greater equality between countries, and greater equality between men and women, and better access to healthcare, educations, and management of international migrations, less conflict, and we all global leaders should unite to and make specific plans to overcome and mitigate this crisis, pandemic, COVID-19, and other natural disaster. Thank you, John. And sorry for some technical issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. That is fine. These things are actually beyond our control, and it is good we have Ibrahim Ramadan here, who came to talk about technology. So don't apologize for that. These things are beyond our control. Ananda, thank you for your submission on volunteerism and humanitarian services. Many a time, a lot of young people think when they hear the word humanitarian services, all that comes to their mind is the international opportunities. But then your presentation highlighted one key thing that piqued the interest of some of the participants. It says, well, support local non-profits. In other words, support local community works. So I want to ask you, how do we make local humanitarian work services in terms of volunteering appealing for the young people to also engage in? How do we make it attractive? Because when you hear of humanitarian services, all they are looking at are big organizations outside their country or scope. So how do we make the humanitarian services at home more favorable for this young mind to contribute their time to support community development? Thank you.
I want to share something on this. Yeah, on this opinion. Actually, we all are social change makers, and we have responsibility to inspire our young brothers and sisters. And in local level, there is many problems, humanitarian issues, and in this context of COVID-19 crisis, there is a lot of problems like mental health and food scarcity, and health, education. Children are not unable to study, and due to lockdown, all business and school, college, universities all are stopped. And in that time, and youth are the main pillar of community. So we should inspire and we should support local levels youth, and we should focus on the safety and security of youth, and we mobilize the volunteers and youth to awareness. Mainly, we can mobilize the volunteers and awareness. Uh, uh, this COVID-19 in that time, and we can collaborate with many business groups, business and banks, and we can also international agencies, INGOs, and government agencies to support and inspire a young youth, and to help local levels people. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Ananda, for your submission on volunteerism and humanitarian services. It is actually key because once you look at the humanitarian space, it is actually full of passionate and committed individuals and organizations who have dedicated their lives to serving humanity. So without a passion and a commitment, these are some of the key ingredients that is actually needed in the humanitarian space. And today you have actually highlighted on it. Thank you so much for that noteworthy presentation. Thank you very much. Hello, people. Please, as long as you are here, if you have questions, the speakers are here. Please do feel free to ask the speakers questions or drop them in the chat box. I also like to acknowledge the presence of Christina Soboliva, who is also here with us, and acknowledge an honorable member of the Democracy African Youth Parliament, Honorable Hanat Alassa, who is also here with us, as long as all the way from Ghana right here, George Jima, a very prolific young man who is also dedicated to the cause of humanity. We appreciate all of you, and also Ahmed, who is present here, Musa Olanyika, who is here with us. It is a privilege to have all of you here with us, and we really appreciate having you here. Thank you so much, everyone. Now, let's move on to the youth segment, where we will hear from these young people across the continental globe, working in their own space, where they've been sharing thoughts and their expertise. I am happy to have here three able of such people here who have some quick time to share their thoughts on that. Without much, I would like to first introduce Abdul Muaz, the Youth and Global Peace Ambassador. He is from Pakistan, to share his thoughts actually on the youth and the global peace. Hello, Abdul Muaz, the floor is open to you. Yes, I have unmuted you. Please unmute yourself.
Assalamu alaikum and hello everyone. I hope you all are doing good. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. John Agri and Hired Concert for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to speak upon role of youth in building peace and role of youth in coronavirus. So, as you know, youth is very much important in society, and no doubt it's a main part of society everywhere. So I think in this global pandemic, the youth have played a very important role, uh, like economically. The youth is the one who just go door to door to help people needy and poor and help everyone all around the world. If we talk about role of youth in building peace, uh, but for to understand the engagement of youth in peace building, first of all, the mobilization and reintegration factors such as such factors like who they are, what they did before the conflict, how they are recruited, what specific fighting roles they undertook, and what experience politically, socio-economically, and psychologically during the armed conflict, and home context Government of youth.
So I think you need to be a bit stable with your, can you be stable? You're moving too much. Yes, great.
Yeah. So the involvement of youth in non-politics and a form a wider perspective and the enablement of their political agencies in a more positive and peace-oriented role in post-conflict environments is likely to be depend on how these trajectories are shaped by overall political and context. Use like we can see very much engaged in many activities. And if we talk about myself, like World Peace International and many other organizations are really working for uh, youth, like organizing a virtual model United Nations conferences, events, and organization work. So youth has played a great role. But if we talk about opportunities for the youth, I think there are a lack of opportunities for the youth in all around the world as they deserve, because you can see many talented and very hardworking and passionate youth from all around the world who are willing to work to make a peace in all around the world and to create a peaceful world. Like many in many problems so out in because their ideas are really creative, like how to bring peace and how to resolve the issues of the world. The enablement of youth as an active agent in peace building cannot be considered without considering such challenges they tend to face due to the armed conflicts, such as loss of education, a lack of employable skills, and destruction of a stable family environment. The wider socio-economic needs of youth are often ignored in post-conflict contexts as they are not seen as vulnerable groups. It is important to provide youth with training opportunities to take an active part in peace building with their youthful energy and capabilities and ability of adoption to new technologies trend. For example, youth could act as mediator, community mobilizers, humanitarian workers, and peace workers. Like any particular conflict affected population group, mobilization of youth capacities requires a targeted and long-term approach. The engagement of youth in peace building is a wide perspective. Can be ensured through the arts, culture, tourism, sports, and education. The innovativeness and creativeness of young people in those areas could be mobilized effectively by the connecting them with wider peace building projects such as building bridges between divided communities and ensuring a visible process of reconciliation. There are many examples across the world of the contribution that the young make towards peace building, such as strengthening of community cohesion and reconciliation in civic awareness for peaceful social relations and development programs in many countries, just building across different ethno-religious groups in many countries to be seen, and community entrepreneurship and livelihood programs in uh, like countries like Burundi, Sri Lanka, Nepal. Furthermore, the UN Interagency Network on Youth Development report entitled "Young People's Participation is in Peace Building" Apex North presents a number of policies again from different conflict effective countries that would facilitate such participation for more effectively. Undertaking all these objectives, it is also vital to avoid the well-known feature of referring to youth as future leaders. Leadership should not be considered as a factor of age, and providing appropriate governance context would likely enable young people to flourish as leaders today. In other words, they need to be treated as a leaders without postponing to any elusive future, whether it is in governance or general or politically. Like in, if trainings to many programs uh, among peace building and like in many skills. So if we say in this matter that in the like post-COVID and peace building, so I think youth have played a great role in both in this COVID-19 pandemic crisis and also in peace building. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Abdul Muaz. He is a global peace ambassador, and we are happy to hear your solidarity message. Thank you so much, Abdul Muaz, for that peaceful message to the world. Okay, so next we will have on our list Madame Emanuela. We have next on our list Madame Emanuela. She is an SDG advocate, and also she's here to share her thoughts on health, well-being of the humanitarian sector. So, Madam Emanuela, the floor is open to you. Yes, please unmute.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Can you turn on the screen, please?
Yes, please.
So this explains about our online 10-4 learning program that they have an app you can put on your phone. I recommend that it's right on the login screen. They take rent is $200 for the first every month. Credit card, debit card, e-check. E-check is a free one that doesn't have any processing. So that's my recommend.
Oh, I can just go on if you can get it.
All right, start. We'll push it up on the screen for you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Emanuela Chebo, and it's a privilege to me to be with you all today to celebrate this World Humanitarian Day, to talk on health and safety in protecting humanitarians. I'm so much happy with this topic because it aligns with the SDG number 3, which talks about health and well-being. So to begin, it's been a passion for me to make sure everyone around me stays safe and healthy in a safety environment. So the Sustainable Development Goals, SDG, also known as the Global Goals. Thank you. Also known as the Global Goals, which are under the authority of the United Nations member states. It is a universal call to action and to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that all people enjoy peace and prosperity by 2030. To understand the SDGs, you can use the 5 Ps of it. I guess you all know the 5 Ps, but let me just remind us, like the 5 Ps stands for peace, people, prosperity, planet, and partnership. So we need the 5 Ps. This helps us to identify a unique area of opportunities. The P that aligns with the SDG number 3 stands for people. This means the world's determination to end poverty and hunger in all their forms and dimensions, and to ensure that all human beings can fulfill their potential in dignity and equality and in a healthy environment. Our health and well-being are being influenced by the settings in which we live. According to the World Health Organization, health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. When we hear of SDG, we think of three pillars. That is the social aspect, economic aspect, and the environmental aspect. All these three needs to be balanced together. The aspect not being followed by Africans is that of the environmental aspect project, because there is nothing being done to protect the environment. Can you go to the next slide, please? We could improve in protecting our environment if the government put their minds together. We need motivation, leadership, political will to put resources to where it does matters. The reason I'm here today is because I want us to come together and make a difference on global health. Have we ever thought to ourselves why more than 6 million children die before they reach the age of 5 years? And another question, what can really be the cause? 35 million people live with HIV and 240,000 children newly infected by the end of 2013. The saddest part is that HIV/AIDS are higher in African countries. For example, in 2008, there were 33.4 million people living with HIV in the world, and 22.4 million are in the sub-Saharan Africa. And also, there are 1.4 million of pregnant women in low and middle income countries affected with HIV, and 90% of the positive pregnant women are in the sub-Saharan Africa. 4.3 million deaths in 2012 were due to pollution in homes from wood. Maternal death rate in developing countries is 14 times higher. Poor nutrition causes 45% of the child's death under 5 years of age. Millions of people have no access to soap and water to block the spread of disease, and some people do not have access to good quality medical services. If we all come together and do just a little bit, we can change the world to be a better place for all. But now, many local governments are already taking actions to bring about health benefits by raising awareness in communities for prevention and to promote healthy lifestyles, thereby improving services which include basic health services, waste management, hygiene and food chains, water and sanitation, improving the quality and safety of public spaces to favor mental health, physical activities, and social cohesion, improving road safety and managing traffic to reduce injuries and casualties, protecting common goods such as soil, water, air, and the natural environment to an integrated way across sectors. According to the World Health Organization, there are goals within goals which are being implemented, some of which are to reduce the global maternal mortality ratio to less than 70 per 100,000 live births, to end preventable death of newborns and children under 5 years of age to 12 births per 100,000 live births, to end epidemics of AIDS, tuberculosis, malaria, and hepatitis, to halve the number of global deaths and injuries from road traffic accidents by 2020, to ensure universal access to healthcare services, to substantially increase health financing and the recruitment, development, training, and retention of the health workforce in developing countries, especially in least developed countries and small island developing states, to strengthen the capacity of all countries, in particularly developing countries, for early warning, risk reduction, and management of national and global health crises. The Sustainable Development Agenda, including SDG 3, it's about ensuring healthy living, fostering well-being for all people at all ages, and promoting indicators to monitor progress. This can only be achieved through local action. The question lies on you. What can you do to resolve this problem? Make sure you and your family are vaccinated. Share the facts about global health with families and friends to encourage action. Donate to an SDG charity. Volunteer at least 1 hour a week to an SDG-related charity. Write to your politicians asking what your country is doing to help on this topic. On this special day, let us use this opportunity to say thank you to real-life heroes, not forgetting that we can assist the world with love, healthcare, solidarity, education, food, water, sustainability, sanitation, resilience, laughter, community, shelter, empowerment, hope, courage, aid, and humanity. All the power that we need to change the world and make it a better place. We already have it in our hands, and it is up to us to use it to bring a change. I wish you a very happy World Humanitarian Day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Emanuela, for that inspiring talk on health and well-being. It is very true that on this special day, we need to say thank you to the real-life heroes. And by doing so, we also need to make sure we ourselves are staying safe, healthy, donate to an SDG charity, and also volunteer to a related cause. We are happy to have you here, and we look forward that as you have future plans of building back better in supporting your community by becoming a community health pharmacist, we look forward that these future aspirations are brought to fulfillment for you. And we're always here to support. We wish you also a World Humanitarian Day. Thank you very much for your submission.
Thank you.
All right, people, next on the bill and the last youth panel, we have Aya Abeng from Cameroon. He is here to share his thoughts also. You are most welcome, respected sir. Please unmute yourself.
Hello, everyone. Mr. John, thank you very much for one of the opportunity. Of course, with your partners, UTHM, the art, the protocol in the field. It's one of the to say.
Hello, Aya. Your line is not really clear. So if you can work on the audio, we will be very happy to hear you clearly. The audio is not really clear.
Okay, it's better now.
All right, let's move on.
Okay, thank you very much. So I was saying that it's a wonderful opportunity to be here. Very grateful. I did one of the presentations that have come before. I find it a little bit having the lines because everything has kind of been said. But all the same, I hope I can put my own little today when it comes to celebrate World Humanitarian Day for 2020. Just to say that I'm supposed to talk and bring back humanity through the global sustainable development goals. I must say that maybe it's most proper now if I could actually share what I have on the screen so that together we could have an idea of what we have. So just to say that even though I'm supposed to talk about building back through the global strategies, I decided to customize it to this, and I said SWAT PD building back humanity through influential leadership, and SWAT PD is the burden organization that we're built out composition there. And summary of what Swahili is about, and then just to give what Swahili is cycle to show how the reason why we selected a particular global that we focus on alongside others. That's the main one because we think it has a kind of ripple effects on all conclusion. So I hope everyone is getting me at this now since my speaker was in some trouble. So Swahili is basically a social enterprise which specializes in maximizing human potential for influential for individuals and institutions for increased productivity and sustainability. Swahili has run since seen, and in that time to build design programs through a differential education program, which is aimed at differential literacy. And we focus on personal development, focus on leadership, focus on public speaking, because we feel that these 5 elements are key when it comes to people who can maximize their potential and effective work. So that's what Swahili is about. And I said influential education because everything before. That's the main thing, or that's the main goal that we focus on in terms of bringing out contribution to the globe. So I'm just presenting Swahili because there are around 30 of us, young people who have dedicated themselves to train, coach, inspire others to maximize their potential, their talents, their seeds by living a purposeful life, sports life of niche, which gives rise to good leadership, gives rise to sustainable development. So moving forward, just permit me just to talk about the little cycle that we were to establish. And this cycle shows why we started at this particular entity for as the main springboard platform for have a ripple effect on the other sustainable development goals. So we think that the main challenge that what faces today is knowledge, and especially the African continent. And so we thought that to have the kind of materials that will give us kind of that my report was going to find the best practice and training kinds of leaders who serve the leaders and entrepreneurs who serve the business. And so we want to be materials and leadership in all areas of giftedness because we think that everyone has one area of giftedness and if we bring out potential those areas and put at the service of humanity in the different. So this one we are trying to see how we can enhance SDG 4 as education says ensure inclusive and critical quality education and promote life for all. And that's why Swahili things are one of the things our education which call influential education focus on potential alongside principle. So we think that the absence somehow to a constrained language of this kind of leaders and entrepreneurs who are on their feet has brought us issues of sustainability in the Africa. And therefore we think that at that point we are addressing SDG number 16 because if you have or entrepreneurs who understand the effects that their actions have on sustainability will make a difference. Now, but why is this happening? This is why this sustainability happening. It's because the kinds of data we have now promote justice, the property war, and we have weak institutions, and some others always Africa's biggest problem because we have weak institutions, and our shared contribution to the world is somehow reduced considerably because we have issues of injustice, issues of war, weak institutions. Again, the lack of focus from our leaders, lack of sense of direction from the majority of our leaders encourages irresponsible consumption and production, which affects SDG, which we want the opposite to that. Of course, it affects the sanitary condition of life on that's SDG 6. It affects life on the water. It affects that of life on land, SDG 14. Then, which inevitably affects affects the climate as everyone has seen, because when consume property, when it hurts the waters, or land, or it doesn't help us much and affects the climate. Furthermore, the lack of confidence generally has also caused some lack of confidence and compassion in our leadership has caused a low blood pushing, and low blood pushing has caused citizens not to have hope, because the working conditions, the economic growth is not the best. As it is, of course, it's definitely challenging now to get the industry moving, to get infrastructure moving. It also kills innovation. As of course, this encourages poverty, as number one, and the other poverty that leads to as number two, which is hunger, which in turn has a negative effect on the health and the wealth of our communities, which Madam a lot on for. So we also think that the lack of job institution, which is as a result of the kind of leadership we have, leads to inequalities, because there's nepotism and class select who to be meritocracy is no longer a priority, because of how to prepare middle class the benefits of individuals and not people. Of course, gender equality comes in because the leaders are not fair. They don't consider everyone, they don't consider the female gender in particular. Of course, females who have the one who way of serving as administrators to plan big institutions again, they don't support the different sectors. They don't support sectors like areas of energy to see that we have affordable clean energy. In brief, what we things that if we train the right in all the areas, if we train the right kind of entrepreneurs in the different areas of business, then automatically we will create a that of all other groups. We came to discover that a has a different application.
Hello, Ian. I think your audio has a bit of breaking, so we are not able to hear you clearly. Notwithstanding, is it possible you could also try and wrap up the presentation for us, please, in 5 minutes?
Yes, I'm over
Thank
there.
you.
I'm over there. I'm actually almost at the end of it. So I just move forward. Those are the sustainable development goals. And then of course, just to say that everything rights and falls leadership, and if we're able to teach our kids on the things about something as instrumental as influential leadership as sustainable development literacy, it is necessary to ensure that a leader or in purpose to have a passion for it. And these are the kinds of materials that those who can that will allow us to bring back our so thank you so much. Sorry about the speaker. I wish it would be better, but I guess technology has a shot for me. So thank you once again.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ian, for your presentation. We are very much happy all the way from Cameroon. Our brother here has been also a graduate of the Mike Oladipo Graduate Institute. We are happy to have listened to him. Now, we've spent a lot of time. Aya, if you could stop your screen sharing. We've spent a lot of time, and let's wrap it up with quick final remarks from the panelists and their closing remarks. What is their message for this today's World Humanitarian Day in celebrating real life heroes in a time of global crisis, that is a COVID-19? What is their final message to the world? I think with that, Dr. Jamila, are you still available? I know it's late there and you're tired. Are you there to give a quick final, what is your final remarks to the world? What is your message to the world? Please unmute.
Okay. Thank you, John. I would like to say a happy World Humanitarian Day to everyone. My message is in life, do not take a problem as a problem, but try to take the problem as a challenge, and then you try to find ways uh, to find the solution, the best solution. So I really support sustainable development SDG, and we should together make it happen for all, for today and for the future. Thank you, John.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jamila, and we are very sorry for keeping you for over 3 hours here.
Actually, it's 1:16 in the morning here in Malaysia, but it's worth waiting, really.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And we do appreciate your time, your resource, and your prompt feedback that you gave us during the emails. Every email got responded to and with clarity. High Consort is honored to have you. Thank you so much. We look forward to engaging with you in other future youthful engagements and activities. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Respected Professor Samuel Audobe, your final remarks to the world. What is your message to the United Nations? What is your message to the global community in terms of COVID-19? And today we're celebrating humanitarian aid workers. What is your message to the world? Please unmute. Please unmute.
John Hargrave, I want to thank you for this opportunity given to me, and as well to thank the Global Social Financial Evolution Network of being a member of the Board of Governors representing them. My message to the whole world is that humanitarian services or intervention should not be restricted to when there is disaster or when there is any calamity. It's supposed to be a continuous service, and this should involve everyone, every sector, and including every nation of the world, either developed countries, underdeveloped countries, or developing countries. So we should be proactive in dealing with disasters. We should be proactive in handling emergency situations and not only waiting for when it happens, because a stitch in time saves 9. So say an English proverb. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof, who is also a pastor. Samuel, we are so happy with this very rich academic insights that you shared earlier on with us. Full, right from history all the way to inception and the way forward. We are so much happy that despite your busy schedule, you've had time for us today. The youth appreciate your contribution. I'm so excited and I'm full of joy having you. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Professor Blessing Lawa, for making this a possibility. Thank you. Hello, audience. From beginning, we've had one personality who has joined us for over 3 hours. Respected Sir Simon Achu, I have seen you. You have been with us from the beginning, and I cannot end this webinar without hearing your thoughts or for you to share a few words. So thank you, sir, for being here with us and gracing this occasion. If you want to say a few words, please feel free to share with the global world. Sir Simon Achu. Please unmute. Please unmute yourself. Please unmute.
Thank you, John, for the good job you are doing for mankind and humanity. I want to thank everybody who's made a presentation this day. That is a big lesson for us. And when we get back to our various corners, our various communities, hear the message of humanity, our environment, our social aspect, and development. And if there's any message you give to the governments of the world, instead of us piling stock of weapons, looking at each other as enemies, we should consider one another as God creation and feel for each other. Instead of us piling money in the name of protecting ourselves, we should understand that God is the greatest protector and we live believing in his word and caring for one another. If we continue to do that, I believe there will be no gunshot because just a virus, COVID-19, taking many more lives than the chemical weapons, as well as the AK-47s and others that are piled in storehouses in the world. Let us change our mentality. Let our governments change their mentality and feel for one another. And as a team, as one people, be it from the north to the south, east to west, as respect to all the 6 continents of the world, we feel as God's creation, think as one, feel for one another. I think we'll have the greatest of peace and the world will enjoy the essence of which we are on earth. Thank you for this job.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, respected Sir Simon, for joining for over 3 hours here. And we are happy to hear your words of wisdom and solidarity to the world. And to Dr. Jessica, what is your final message to the global community in this period of uncertainties? What is your message to the world?
Thank you. I think at this time, I'd really just like to express my gratitude to everybody who's out there doing this important work, and to everyone in communities who've been displaced and who are facing humanitarian situations, humanitarian crises. Just the resilience that you've shown in overcoming this has been inspirational. And I really hope we can get to a point in our world where we no longer have to ask this of people, that we can live in a world of peace, where everyone's needs are met, and everyone can be safe and pursue happiness. I guess I would also just like to put a plug out there that, you know, as much as we want to celebrate the progress that we've made on World Humanitarian Day, there's so much work left to be done. And we do know that many people are not being included in these processes. And so hoping that moving forward, we can continue to collaborate, and especially think more about how we can reduce inequities and make sure everyone's included.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jessica, for holding the fort and also sharing in the creative tools that is helping people around the world to have verified information about what actually is going on the ground with COVID-19 and your final message. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I want to acknowledge all those who have been able to make today a success. I want to appreciate you all for your time, your patience, and your resource. And I also want to thank Musa Olatunji. He is the Vice President for Africa, the GSFN. He has been inspirational and very supportive. And also to the man, the Continental President of Great Minds Empire, who has been with us and have supported this program, Taman Monday Yari. Sir, if you are there, can you give us a quick note? And also all the participants, all of you who have made it possible. There is a hand up. Sir, yes, you can speak. Your hand is up using a Huawei, the one with the name Huawei. All right. And also want to acknowledge Musa Ola Yinka and Madam Hanat, who Radin Maya, who have all joined here. Respected Madam, would you want to give your closing take before we end this webinar? All right, people, I think they are offline now. So I want to thank you all for your support. Thank the support of the UN SDG Action Campaign, Great Minds Empire, Hired Project, that is a charity organization based in the United States, Michigan, in the working space of the humanitarian service. We appreciate all of you. So on that note, I want to say thank you to our panelists and thank you today to everyone. Happy World Humanitarian Day. God bless you all and bye-bye.
God bless you. Thank you. See you next time. I hope to send my presentation to you.
Yes, please.
I'll do that, please.